Hey guys, welcome back to the Rideshare Hub. It's Isabella, and today we're going to be talking about 20 Doordash delivery secrets to help you earn more money. Before we get started, if you haven't heard of Octopus, it's this company that gives you a tablet for inside of your car if you're going to be a rideshare driver. So this is great for like Uber and Lyft drivers, so that the person sitting in the back, who's the passenger, has something that they can kind of like use to entertain themselves. So Octopus equips you with your own like high definition tablet that you can put on the back, and that way they can like play games, check the weather, different things like that. It can also help you make an extra $100 per month, so be sure to check that out. There's a link in the description. Let's get started with these 20 Doordash secrets to help you earn more as a Doordash delivery driver. Tip number one that you might not have even thought about is to deliver when there's bad weather. This might sound kind of weird or like maybe unsafe to you, but obviously like drive according to how safe it's gonna be for you. But if it's snowing really hard outside or raining, chances are a lot of people are going to be ordering food, so you'll probably get more orders, and potentially the person who is ordering the food may give you a bigger tip because they see that you're working out in these crazy weather conditions. It doesn't hurt to drive when the weather isn't that great outside. Tip number two is to make sure to store your food properly. You want to probably invest in a cooler to put your cold food in and an insulated bag to put your hot food in, so the food is in the best condition it can be when it gets to the person that is ordering it. A lot of times people complain when their food is really cold when it was hot, or if they got something cold that ends up being melted by the time that they get it. So to avoid that completely, you can invest in these two things. Tip number three is that you want to make sure you're driving at the right times. There are certain times during the day where people tend to order food more than other times of the day. So like during lunchtime in the week, weekends for sure, and like dinner time or late at night. Those are awesome times where you want to be driving if you can, because you'll probably get more orders. Tip number four is to track your mileage. I cannot stress enough how important this is. There's different apps you can use that actually do it for you, so it makes it super convenient and easy. There's apps like Everland, Mile IQ, TripLog. That way when it comes to filing your taxes, you can get tax return on the mileage, so be sure to do that. It's very important. Tip number five. This is important if you want to raise your chances of getting a better tip at the end of your delivery, but you want to keep good communication with the person you're delivering to. As soon as you get their order, you can just let them know that you're on your way, or if there's any kind of delay, you can also let them know that, or like when you're outside, you can just be like super friendly in the messages. Also just like add extra things to their bag, like extra napkins, condiments, utensils. It's like a little added thing that doesn't take much time or effort that can really help raise your chances of getting a tip. So yeah, just be as friendly as possible. Tip number six, this might feel like, you know, common knowledge, but maybe it's not something you always think about because it's so simple, but it's to always double check your order. This is so important because you want to make sure that all the food is in your order, or that nothing's messed up, and that way you eliminate any problems that this could cause. You won't get reported, because you can definitely get it reported and risk getting your account deactivated if you mess up orders multiple times. Tip number seven is to try to do more short deliveries rather than long ones. It's better to do like more short deliveries within an hour than like a couple of long ones, because you're probably gonna make more money that way. And if you're doing long deliveries, you're gonna be driving away from the area that has more restaurants, if that's where you're like picking up the food from. So if you're like in the city and you're delivering out to the suburbs, it probably wouldn't be that worth it for you. So you might as well just stay like, maybe keep your like distance border to be a little bit shorter, so like the radius isn't as big for how far you're going to be delivering. Tip number eight is to look presentable. You don't have to be like super dressed up or anything, but it's always good to like at least look clean, you know, not have your hair super messy, or like just look like you just got out of bed, because if you're going to be handing the food directly to the person and not just like leaving it outside of their door, you just still want to like look nice. It's just like more professional that way. Tip number 9 is to learn what deliveries are going to be worth it for you. This kind of goes along with what I was saying earlier about not driving too far and doing these super long deliveries. Also, if the food is like really cheap and the order is like under $7 and it's really far away, it just doesn't make sense for you to do that. I would also just in general avoid fast food orders because a lot of the times they're like really not that fast and you're not making a lot of money from it because they're super cheap. So tip number 10 is to wait in an area with a high density of restaurants. If you're in a super popular area with a bunch of restaurants, you have a higher chance of getting a really good order, especially if they're like nice and expensive restaurants. The higher the bill is, the higher your tip is gonna be based on the percentage. So always good to wait in those types of areas. Tip number 11 is that you want to double up on apps. It's always good to have 2 different apps going at the same time. So if you're doing DoorDash, maybe have like Uber Eats going on at the same time, so that way you can kind of just keep getting orders flowing back to back. You want to kind of like do it the right way though, so you're not just doing a bunch of orders at the same time and it gets super overwhelming. But while you're doing an order on, say, DoorDash, as you're finishing up the order, you can turn on the other app and wait for the next order to come in. That way you're just always getting orders like flowing in and there's never a time where you're sitting waiting for the next order to come. Tip number 12 is to try delivering by bike. If you live in a place or you're going to be like delivering in an area that has a lot of restaurants around and a lot of like apartments or houses, like maybe downtown, and the traffic is really bad, it's honestly going to be faster for you to bike and you're saving money by not using gas. So you could just try it out, like try delivering downtown in a relatively small radius so you can just ride your bike, probably like do more deliveries within a shorter period of time. Tip number 13 is that you want to make sure your vehicle is reliable and in good shape. It would suck if your car broke down while you were doing deliveries because that would obviously create a bunch of problems for you. So always be sure that you're, doing your service checks, maintenance checks, oil changes. You want to make sure your car is always in good condition. My 14th tip is to join different groups and communities of other DoorDash drivers or just like delivery drivers in general. That way you can kind of meet other people that are doing the same thing as you and relate to them. You guys can learn tips from each other. Maybe there's someone who has way more experience than you. You can talk to them and get some tips and ideas from them. Also, it's just a great way to like maybe hear other people's stories that they have. Like sometimes they're pretty funny, or like you can vent yourself and like get things off your chest and see if anyone can relate to like a specific situation that you've had doing deliveries. Tip number 15 is to make sure you have a good profile picture. You want to be smiling and looking friendly because it kind of just adds more of a personality to you when you're delivering the food, and there's a chance you'll get a higher tip from that. Because if you just have a really plain photo where you're straight-faced, maybe looking kind of mean, it's just like, I don't know, it's just always good to like look friendly because like the only thing they're gonna really know from you is what you look like from your profile picture and your name. So it's good to just kind of like look nice in your photo. Tip number 16 is to accept stacked orders when it makes sense for you. A stacked order is when you do like 2 orders at the same time and you drop them off along the way from each other. But you want to make sure they're like literally like on the way to each other, because if you have stacked orders that are like a complete detour from each other, you're going to be wasting a lot of time and a lot of gas, and the last person to get their delivery is probably going to be annoyed that it took so long. So make sure that your stacked orders are appropriate and like make sense. Tip number 17 is to do challenges. A lot of these delivery apps have little challenges you can do to make more money, and DoorDash has this thing called Peak Play if you want to look more into it. It's kind of like a little game within the app where you can like do challenges to earn a little bit of extra money. Definitely check that out. Tip number 18 is to use your referral codes. If you know people that want to do DoorDash or that just want to make a little bit of extra money on the side, use your referral codes and you can make a little bit of extra money. Tip number 19 is to check out WRAPIFY. This is a company that will wrap your car for you with an advertisement, and they actually pay you per mile that you drive. So if you're going to be doing deliveries, you're obviously going to be driving a lot. It basically just makes your car like a traveling billboard. So that's why they pay you for traveling around with the advertisement on your car. It's just an easy way where you can passively make a little bit of extra income. My final tip, which sounds a little bit ridiculous, is to avoid delivering to students. I know you can't really tell if you're going to be delivering to a student, but you want to avoid areas where you're near a school campus or like student housing, because more often than not, students do not tip very well. And a lot of them order fast food, which, like I said earlier, you want to avoid fast food deliveries. But yeah, like students are usually trying to save money. They might not want to spend extra on tipping you, so there is a less likely chance that you're gonna get a good tip from them. Anyways, I hope you liked these 20 DoorDash secrets I had from you. I hope they were helpful. Be sure to like this video, leave a comment down below, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Anyways, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.